The Midnight Café, a bedtime story for binge sleep TV. Introduction: The Sleepless City. Some nights, sleep feels like a distant country, one I've never learned the language to visit. Tonight is one of those nights. The clock beside my bed glows 11:47 p.m., its red digits casting shadows across my ceiling like restless thoughts. I've tried everything: chamomile tea that's gone cold on my nightstand, meditation apps that promise peace but deliver only the sound of my own restless breathing, even counting sheep that seem to mock me with their effortless leaps over imaginary fences. But sleep remains elusive, like trying to catch moonbeams in your palm. My name is David, and I'm 32 years old. Though some nights, lying awake in the dark, I feel both much older and impossibly young. I'm an architect by day, designing spaces where other people live their lives. But at night, I'm just another insomniac wandering through a world that seems built for those who can rest. So, I do what I always do when the walls of my apartment feel too close, when the silence becomes too loud. I walk. The city at this hour is different, softer somehow. The harsh daylight that makes everything sharp and demanding has given way to the gentle glow of street lamps and neon signs that hum lullabies to empty sidewalks. My footsteps echo softly against wet pavement. It must have rained while I was lying awake, though I hadn't noticed. The air smells clean now, washed and new. I pull my jacket closer as a cool breeze carries the scent of night-blooming jasmine from someone's garden. Above me, windows glow like scattered stars in apartment buildings, and I wonder how many other insomniacs are standing at those windows, looking down at wanderers like me. The familiar streets of my neighborhood blur past as I walk without destination, past the 24-hour laundromat, where the machines tumble clothes in endless hypnotic cycles, past the corner market with its flickering open sign that serves as a beacon for night shift workers and others like me who exist in the spaces between day and night. I've been walking these same streets for months now, maybe longer. Time has a way of becoming fluid when you spend your nights awake and your days moving through the world like you're underwater. But tonight feels different. Tonight, the familiar seems to shift and breathe around me, as if the city itself is dreaming. Discovery: When Midnight Strikes. The clock tower in the distance chimes 12 times, each note hanging in the air like a question, and that's when I see it, tucked between a bookstore that's been closed for renovation for as long as I can remember, and a vintage clothing shop with dusty mannequins in the window. A cafe. But that's impossible. I've walked this street 100 times, maybe more. I know every storefront, every crack in the sidewalk, every doorway. There was never a cafe here before. The warm golden light spilling from its windows seems to pulse gently, like a heartbeat made visible. Steam rises from within, carrying the rich aroma of coffee and something sweeter, cinnamon, perhaps, or vanilla. A small wooden sign hangs beside the door, painted in elegant script that seems to shimmer in the streetlight. The Midnight Café, for those who cannot sleep. I stand there for a long moment, feeling the cool night air on my face, while that impossible warmth radiates from the mysterious doorway. My rational mind whispers that this can't be real, that fatigue has finally caught up with me, and I'm hallucinating. But my heart, that treacherous organ, that still believes in magic, despite years of evidence to the contrary, pulls me forward. The door is painted deep blue, the color of sky just before dawn, and it opens with the gentle chime of silver bells. The sound washes over me like a benediction, and suddenly I'm stepping across the threshold into another world entirely. Inside, the café defies the laws of space and physics. It feels impossibly large for the narrow storefront I entered, stretching back into shadowy corners filled with overstuffed armchairs and small, intimate tables. Shelves line the walls from floor to ceiling, packed with books whose spines catch the light from dozens of candles scattered throughout the space. The flames dance without flickering, casting everything in a warm, honeyed glow. Jazz music drifts from somewhere. Miles Davis, maybe, or someone equally melancholy and beautiful. The melody weaves between the soft conversations of other patrons, creating a tapestry of sound that feels like being wrapped in the world's most comfortable blanket. And the smell, oh, the smell is intoxicating. Coffee, yes, but also fresh baked bread, roses, old books, and something else I can't quite place, something that smells like contentment itself. The barista and the menu of dreams. Behind the counter stands someone who could have stepped out of a painting from another era, tall and graceful, with dark hair that seems to absorb the candlelight and eyes the color of strong coffee. They move with the fluid precision of someone who has performed these same motions countless times, grinding beans, steaming milk, wiping down surfaces that already gleam. Welcome, they say, their voice carrying just a trace of an accent I can't identify, something European, perhaps, or maybe just the weight of many languages learned over many years. I was wondering when you'd find us, David. Find you? I ask, settling onto a stool at the counter. The wood is worn smooth by countless hands, warm beneath my palms. I've never seen this place before tonight. And how do you know my name? A smile plays at the corners of their mouth. The Midnight Café only appears for those who truly need it, those who wander the night searching for something they can't quite name. As for your name, well, some knowledge comes with the territory. They lean forward slightly, studying my face with eyes that seem to see too much. You've been walking for a long time, haven't you, David? I want to deny it, to say that I just happened to be out for a casual stroll. But something about this place, about them, makes pretense impossible. Months, I admit. Maybe longer. Sleep and I, we don't get along anymore. Ah. They nod with understanding that feels too deep, too knowing. Then you'll want to see our special menu. From beneath the counter, they produce a leather-bound book that looks ancient yet perfectly preserved. The cover bears no title, only an intricate pattern of silver stars and moons that seem to move in my peripheral vision. They open it carefully, revealing pages filled with elegant handwriting that shifts and changes as I watch. This isn't your typical cafe menu, they explain, their fingers tracing the air above the pages. We don't serve ordinary drinks here. Instead, we offer experiences, memories, dreams that have been lost or forgotten, emotions that need tending. I stare at the pages, trying to focus on the words that swim before my eyes. The taste of summer rain, reads one entry. A cup of tea that carries the memory of childhood afternoons, when the world was vast and full of possibility. Another, forgotten laughter. A warm chocolate, that brings back the feeling of sharing jokes with an old friend you haven't thought of in years. "How is this possible?" I whisper. "Does it matter?" They ask gently. "You're here now. The question is, what do you need?" I look around the cafe, really seeing it for the first time. In a corner booth, a woman in a 1940s dress sips something that glows faintly blue, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks as she stares into the cup. Near the window, a man with paint-stained fingers writes frantically in a notebook, pausing occasionally to sip from a mug that seems to contain swirling galaxies. "I don't know," I say honestly. "I haven't known for a long time." Their smile is infinitely kind. "Then let's start with something simple." They move to the espresso machine, a beautiful copper and brass contraption that looks like it was crafted by Victorian inventors. One night's peace. It tastes like the moment just before sleep, when your thoughts finally quiet and your body remembers how to rest. Encounters in the space between wake and dream. The drink they place before me looks like ordinary hot chocolate, rich and dark, with a small cloud of whipped cream floating on top. But when I lift the mug to my lips, I understand that nothing here is ordinary. The first sip tastes like being wrapped in the softest blanket in the world, like the feeling of a cool pillow against your cheek after a long day. My shoulders, tense from months of restless nights, begin to unknot. "Better?" the barista asks, and I realize I must look different already. More relaxed, more present, much. I cradle the mug in my hands, letting its warmth seep into my palms. "What's your name?" I feel like I should know it. Names have power, they say, beginning to clean glasses with practiced efficiency. Here, I'm simply the keeper of this space, but you can call me River if you need something to hold on to. River. It suits them. Something flowing and constant, ancient, yet ever-changing. As I sip my impossible drink, other patrons drift in and out of my awareness like figures in a half-remembered dream. A young man with silver hair sits at the piano in the corner, playing melodies that sound like homesickness and hope. An elderly woman knits by the fireplace. When did a fireplace appear? Her needles clicking a rhythm that matches my slowing heartbeat. "Tell me about them," I say to River, gesturing toward the other customers. "Night wanderers, like yourself," they explain. Steam from the espresso machine creating momentary clouds between us. The architect there, with the blueprint spread across her table, she's designing buildings that exist only in dreams, but which will one day inspire real structures that bring people peace. The poet by the window is writing love letters to everyone he's ever lost. And the woman knitting, River's voice grows softer, more reverent. She's knitting together all the conversations she never had with her daughter. Each stitch is a word she wished she'd said. I feel tears prick at my eyes, though I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the warmth of the drink, or the gentle melancholy of the piano music, or simply the overwhelming relief of being in a place where sadness is acknowledged rather than pushed away. "What about you?" I ask. "Are you a night wanderer too?" River pauses in their work, considering the question. "I suppose I am, in my own way. I've been here so long that I've forgotten what it's like to sleep, to dream the way others do. But I've found my purpose in helping others find their way to rest. Doesn't that get lonely?" Their smile is tinged with with something that might be sadness or might be acceptance, sometimes. But then someone like you comes in, and I remember why I'm here. The way they say it, the gentle weight of their gaze, makes something flutter in my chest. A feeling I'd almost forgotten existed. Connection. The possibility of being truly seen. The menu deepens. Over the following hour, or perhaps it's minutes, or maybe days, time seems negotiable in this place. River introduces me to other items from their ethereal menu. There's mother's humming, a tea that tastes like safety and unconditional love. First kiss butterflies, a sparkling drink that makes me remember what it felt like to be young and overwhelmed by possibility. The scent of books, which isn't a drink at all, but a small pastry that dissolves on my tongue, leaving behind the taste of all the stories I've ever lost myself in. Each offering brings with it a flood of sensation, memory, emotion, not painful, despite the tears that sometimes accompany them, but cleansing, like finally allowing myself to feel things I'd been holding back for years. You have a gift, I tell River, as they craft something new, a drink that shifts colors like an aurora. How do you know exactly what people need? I listen, they say simply, not just to words, but to silences, to the spaces between heartbeats, to the dreams that people carry in their shoulders and the fears they hold in their hands. They slide the aurora drink across the counter. This one is called Permission to Begin Again. It tastes like tomorrow morning, full of potential. I take a sip, and it does taste like morning, like dew on grass, and birds beginning to sing, and the whole world waking up to endless possibilities. But more than that, it tastes like forgiveness for all the nights I've spent angry at my own restlessness, for all the days I've moved through the world, feeling half alive. River, I say, setting down the cup carefully. Are you real? They tilt their head, considering. What makes something real? The fact that you can touch it? That others can see it too? That it exists in the daylight world? They lean against the counter, close enough that I can smell their cologne. Something woody and warm, like cedar and starlight. Or is something real because it changes you? Because it matters? I don't have an answer for that, but I know that sitting here in this impossible cafe, drinking impossible drinks, and talking to this mysterious, beautiful person, I feel more real than I have in months. The night deepens around us. Other patrons come and go, some leaving with peaceful expressions, others with tears of release, all of them somehow lighter than when they arrived. The candles burn without diminishing. The jazz plays without repeating, and River moves through it all like a conductor, orchestrating a symphony of healing. Connection in the candlelight. May I ask you something personal? River says, during a quiet moment when we're alone except for the silver-haired pianist, who plays so softly now that his music is more felt than heard. After everything you've shown me tonight, I think personal questions are allowed. They smile at that. What are you running from? In all those nights of walking, what are you trying to leave behind? I'm quiet for a long time, surprised by how much I want to answer. Honestly, disappointment, I think, my own and others. I used to believe I was meant for something significant, important, but life has a way of wearing down those expectations until you're just another person going through the motions. And the insomnia started when I realized I was afraid to dream. afraid that even in sleep, I wouldn't be able to escape the feeling of having settled for less than I hoped for. River nods slowly. Dreams can be frightening when we feel we don't deserve them anymore. Do you dream? I ask, in my own way. They move around the counter, settling on the stool beside me. This close, I can see flecks of gold in their dark eyes, like stars scattered across a night sky. I dream through the stories people bring me, through the healing that happens in this space, through moments like this one, when someone sits across from me and lets themselves be vulnerable, when connection happens despite all the reasons it shouldn't. Their hand rests on the counter between us, fingers long and graceful. When I remember that intimacy isn't about perfection, but about being witnessed in our imperfection and accepted anyway. Without thinking, I reach out and cover their hand with mine. Their skin is warm, more solid than I expected from someone who might be a figment of my sleep-deprived imagination. They don't pull away. Is this real? I whisper again. Does it feel real? Yes. Then maybe that's enough. We sit like that for a while, hands touching, watching the candle flames dance their eternal dance. The pianist has stopped playing, but the silence that fills the cafe is rich and full, pregnant with possibility. I realize that this is the first time in months, maybe years, that I've felt truly present in a moment, not thinking about what came before or worrying about what comes next, just existing here, now, connected to another person in a way that feels both new and ancient. I wish. I start to say, then stop. What do you wish? I wish I could stay here forever. I wish this feeling could last. River's thumb traces gentle circles across my knuckles. What if I told you it could? Not this place. The cafe exists outside of ordinary time and space. But this feeling of connection, of being seen and accepted, that's something you can carry with you. How? By remembering that you're worthy of it. By believing that the person you're becoming is just as valuable as the person you thought you should be by now. Their eyes meet mine, steady and sure. By understanding that sometimes the most profound journeys begin not with knowing where you're going, but with finally being ready to leave where you've been standing. The dawn approaches. As if summoned by River's words, the first hints of dawn begin to creep through the cafe's windows. The golden light takes on a different quality, less honeyed, more crystalline. The books on the shelves seem to shimmer, and I notice that some of the patrons are beginning to fade at the edges, like watercolors bleeding into wet paper. It's time, River says gently, and I know they're right, even though my heart rebels against the idea of leaving. Will I see you again? Will this place be here tomorrow night? The cafe appears when it's needed, they say, standing and moving back behind the counter. But they don't let go of my hand immediately. As for me, well, some connections transcend the boundaries of any single place or time. They prepare one final drink, something that looks like liquid moonlight, in a small, delicate cup. One more for the road. This one is called Carrying the Light. I drink it slowly, savoring every drop. It tastes like hope and determination and the quiet strength that comes from knowing you're not alone in the world, even when you're walking through it by yourself. Thank you, I say, though the words feel inadequate for what River has given me, for everything, for seeing me. Thank you for letting yourself be seen. I stand to leave, but pause at the door, looking back at the impossible cafe with its impossible keeper. River raises their hand in farewell, and in that gesture, I see both goodbye and promise. Remember, they call softly as I open the door. Sleep isn't about escaping from yourself. It's about trusting yourself enough to let go. The morning after. The bells chime as I step back onto the sidewalk, and when I turn around, the cafe is gone. In its place stands the familiar bookstore with its renovation sign, the vintage clothing shop with its dusty mannequins. The street looks exactly as it has every other night I've walked it, except for the faint scent of coffee and cinnamon that lingers in the air. I stand there for a moment, wondering if it was all a dream brought on by exhaustion and loneliness. But my hands still smell like the herbs from the impossible teas, and my heart still carries the warmth of River's acceptance. Most importantly, I feel different, lighter, like I've set down a burden I'd been carrying for so long, I'd forgotten it wasn't part of me. The walk home passes in a gentle haze. The city is beginning to wake up around me. Early commuters emerging from subway stations, coffee shops opening their doors, the soft hum of traffic building like a distant ocean. But instead of feeling excluded from this morning world, I feel like I'm moving through it with purpose. Back in my apartment, I make chamomile tea and sit by the window, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of rose and gold. My bed waits behind me, familiar and no longer forbidding. For the first time in months, I feel the gentle tug of tiredness, not the exhausted crash of someone who's been running from sleep, but the natural pull of a body ready to rest. I think about River's words. Sleep isn't about escaping from yourself, but about trusting yourself enough to let go. As I finish my tea and finally feel my eyelids growing heavy, I understand what they meant. I climb into bed as the sun rises fully, painting my room in warm light. But instead of feeling defeated by another sleepless night, I feel victorious. I close my eyes and let myself drift toward dreams, carrying with me the taste of impossible drinks, the sound of gentle jazz, and the memory of being truly seen. And for the first time in longer than I can remember, I sleep. Epilogue: The gift of rest. I sleep deeply and dreamlessly, the kind of sleep that heals more than just fatigue. When I wake, it's evening again, and I feel more rested than I have in years. The memory of the midnight cafe glows warm in my chest like a small, constant flame. Over the following days, something fundamental has shifted. I still take evening walks. They've become a cherished ritual rather than desperate wandering. Sometimes I find myself pausing at the corner where the cafe appeared, not hoping for it to return, but simply acknowledging the magic that touched my life there. The insomnia hasn't disappeared entirely. Some nights, sleep still eludes me, but when it does, I no longer fight it with panic and frustration. Instead, I make myself tea. I read. I write in a journal I've started keeping. I practice the art of being present with myself, of treating my restlessness with the same gentle acceptance that River showed me. And sometimes, in those quiet, midnight hours, I swear I can still taste those impossible drinks, the comfort of night's peace, the hope of permission to begin again, the sweet promise of carrying the light. They remind me that healing doesn't always come in the ways we expect. and that sometimes the most profound changes begin with simply allowing ourselves to be seen, truly seen, by another soul. The Midnight Café taught me that some forms of magic are real, not because they can be proven, but because they transform us. And transformation, I've learned, is perhaps the most genuine magic of all. So, whether you're listening to this story in the depths of your own sleepless night or curled up in bed, ready to drift off to dreams, remember this: you are worthy of rest, worthy of peace, worthy of the kind of deep acceptance that allows true healing to begin. The night is vast and full of mysteries, but you are not alone in it. Somewhere, in the spaces between sleeping and waking, between what is and what might be, there are cafes that appear for those who need them, serving exactly what your soul requires. All you have to do is be willing to walk through the door. Thank you for listening to tonight's story on Binge Sleep TV. May your night be filled with calm, your dreams full of wonder, and may you wake refreshed. Until next time, good night.